Imagine you're in the 1960s and you see this: Yale University recruiting for a scientific study on memory. For the sake of science, or maybe $4 an hour, you decided to go. You meet the experimenter who tells you that this study is looking at the effects of punishment on learning. And all you need to do is to draw lots with another person to decide your role. By random chance, you've been chosen to be the teacher, and your job is to teach the other person, who is the learner, a list of word pairs. If they answer correctly, no problem. But if they make a mistake, you will have to flip a switch that gives them an electric shock, starting from 15 volts all the way to 450 if they continue giving wrong answers. Now the other person is tied to a chair in another room that you can only hear but cannot see. For the first couple of shocks, they don't really give much of a reaction, but after several increasing shocks, they start to yell and cry in pain, saying they don't want to do this anymore. You look back at the experimenter, who simply tells you, please continue. Now will you continue, or will you not? Will you stop, or will you shock? This is the infamous Milgram experiment conducted by Stanley Milgram, who actually aimed on testing human obedience to authority. Before the experiment, psychologists were asked to predict how many people would continue giving electric shocks to the other person. Without a doubt, they said very few. But guess how many actually continued? 10%? 30? 50%? No, 100%. All participants obeyed the experimenter and continued the experiment, even when the other person refused to take part anymore. And among all participants, 65% went all the way up to the maximum of 450 volts, which could have killed the person if they weren't actually an actor. You see, this whole experiment was a fake. No electric shocks was actually given, but there was one thing that was very real: human obedience to authority. Now looking back, you may wonder why people obeyed so easily. Well, the truth is it wasn't easy for them at all. In fact, a lot of participants hesitated or even suffered from great stress in the experiment, making this one of the most controversial psychology experiments ever conducted. But if people could hear the other person suffering and know what they were doing might be morally wrong, why did they still continue? Well, in a paper published in 1963, Milgram proposed a list of reasons trying to explain such human behavior. And the most important one is that this study was conducted by a trustworthy professional, in this case, a psychologist at Yale University. You see, in everyday life, we don't just do what anyone says. For us to obey someone, that person must have authority above us that is legitimate and that we trust. In the case of the experiment, it is the experimenter, whom we believe knows what they're doing and will take responsibility for what they do and what we do. And because of that, we willingly give up our free will and follow orders to achieve the greater good. In this case, science. Obeying orders is nothing new. We do that all the time at home, at school, at work. Stanley Milgram once said that relatively few people have the resources needed to resist authority, and that ordinary people simply doing their jobs can become agents in a terrible, destructive process. So next time if someone asks you to do something that you don't feel right, remember this Milgram experiment.